to your point about the corporate media as well, I think that they do a massive disservice to the people where folks are, we already have, everyone's working, like 10, 12-hour days at this point. A lot of working folks are working two jobs just to scrape by. 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, which means you've just got all this stress and burden weighing you down. And so the idea that the American people are somehow going to have the time and energy to put in to become informed. I mean, they do enough flipping on, CNN or MSNBC at the end of the day, and they think that that's enough, and that should be enough in a true democracy. That would be enough. You turn on the media and you would be getting informed, but instead they're very focused on sort of the entertainment factor, just doing these sensationalized stories instead of focusing on actually, informing people. They do playing the fake objectivity game where they say they're objective, but they're really just neutral. And if you're neutral between, fascism and centrism, then you're halfway to fascism there, and that's what they're neutral between, essentially. And
it's also because I feel like they've really, as much as they love to pay lip service and do all the theatrics of being above the whole reality TV presidency of Donald Trump. I mean, MSNBC and CNN have made boatloads of money off of continually, dangling things like Russiagate and any other salacious, Ukraine, the impeachment, let's talk about briefly the fact that, they impeached Donald Trump on, probably the most ridiculous thing that you could have. There are plenty of very valid things to impeach Donald Trump on, but they went with the most confusing, least concrete, topic that no regular Americans really give a shit about, and that's evidenced by the fact that they're not bringing it up at all. 50 days out from the fact that he's up for re-election. They're like, it was such a bad decision, and the political calculus was so off, and it hurt the party so badly that this man is 50 days from another general election, and they're not even bringing up the fact that he was impeached from office.
Sorry, man.
No, go please, Gavin. Yep.
I was just going to say, it's pretty funny that their impeachment strategy ended up kind of throwing under the bus their eventual nominee, because it exposed his corruption as well as anyone and his son. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make, is just that,
that's why they can't talk about it, because it's so obvious that Biden's whole career, he was giving handouts, not just to his son, but to his brother. His whole family was riding his success. I mean, why else would his son be sitting on the board of MBNA, the bank before the crash, just raking in massive checks every month? I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, it was because his father was the senator.
Yeah, and it's the kind of corruption that American people, they know it as soon as they see it, and they're sick of it. People are fed up with that, and that sort of stuff makes people cynical. And I know, because I was one of those folks that, honestly, 5 years ago, I was one of those cynical folks that I paid very little attention to politics. And it was just, I was detached from it, because it was like, you just got the feeling that no matter which politicians were in power, it was more of the same. Your life still sucked. Everything was getting worse all the time. And if you're a millennial, I'm 33, and I've lived, through each decade, we've had some massive economic crash in our lifetimes. And it's been the 2001 dot-com bubble, the 2008, 2009 housing crisis. And then while we're still, in recovery, we just hit what is likely to be the greatest depression in U.S. history that we're still undergoing right now. And so I think that these are things that people can see and sense. And when they hear politicians not speaking to those issues, it's very easy to just sort of tune them out.
And also, you're good.
No, please.
I was going to say, and also on the media, like you mentioned, so many people, like you said yourself 5 years ago, like turning on MSNBC or whatever is the most you really, a lot of people do to keep themselves informed. And obviously many people are hardworking. They don't have time, and it's hopeless and depressing to pay attention to this cruel, stupid game of politics. But another thing I just wanted to bring attention to and point out is that if you do just watch the mainstream media, depending on which side of that you're on, if you're watching the left version on MSNBC or the conservative Fox News, they're basically brainwashing you into thinking that the other team, the opposition, is the problem with America. If you're a Republican, then it's the Democrats that are the problem with this country, and they're ruining it from the inside out, completely bankrupting it socially, politically, economically, et cetera. And the inverse goes for if you're a Democrat. The MSNBC leads you to believe that Donald Trump is a unique democracy and that he's single-handedly killing this country, and the Republicans are going to destroy us all this stuff. They both, of course, completely ignore and obfuscate from the corporate ruling donor class, which controls both parties and which is actually affecting most of this negative change in our country. So it increases the division in our country. It increases the polarization among the working and lower classes while distracting everyone from the real culprit. And so I think that's really unfortunate that our media has not only devolved to a place where half the time they're just, talking about stupid stuff like Russiagate. And not only is that problematic for a number of reasons, but in my opinion, most importantly, like I said, it brainwashes their audience into thinking that, we're basically in a civil war culturally.
Well, yeah, but I feel like that's not a bug. That's a feature. That's exactly what they're trying to do. It keeps the goalpost very specific, right? Because, that's been a common tactic throughout all of American history, right? How can we sow the seeds of divide, right? Since the civil rights movement, it became socially unacceptable to, directly sow the racial seeds of divide. So the Republican Party, and to a lesser extent, the Democratic Party, embraced dog whistle politics and continued to sow the divide that way. And they're still continuing to do this way. Obviously, Donald Trump with his, direct, obvious, bigoted language, but also through other mechanisms as well. And I think that one of those mechanisms is by, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats, keeping that game of ping pong going back and forth and keeping everybody's heads turning this way so that they can't see what's directly in front of them, which is the oligarchs pulling the strings and fucking everybody over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like to say, like, they have us focus on left versus right, so we don't focus on top versus bottom, and that's the top 1% versus the bottom 99%. And as long as we sit around fighting, over these issues that they've demagogued us into fighting over, they divide us. There's this great clip of like Bernie Sanders talking to a bunch of high school students on like C-SPAN, like 10 or 15 years back. It might be 20, 15 years back, 20 years back. Sure. And he's just explaining, just breaking down politics to them. And he just says, this is what you do. If you're the Republican Party or, and you're the Democrats and all you want to do is, just maintain power, hold power, and you have a terrible platform that nobody is interested in what do? You start to divide people up along arbitrary lines, divide the men from women, the cis from trans, straight from gay, black versus white, Islam versus Christian, and you just divide people up along as many lines as you can, Democrat versus Republican even, and then they're not paying attention to what's really going on.
But that doesn't win you elections. So this is what you do. What you do is divide people up. And they use it in what we call, kind of language that they not upfront about. What do? We divide people up by races. Affirmative action becomes one issue. All them black people are getting the jobs that we white people used to have. Split people, working class, white against black, instead of working together to create decent jobs for all. Those uppity women now, they want the right to choose. We'll split people on the abortion issue. We'll split people up on the gun issue. We'll split people up on religious issues. Do you follow what I'm saying? So you split people up, and then they end up, if you're a middle-class person, voting against your own interests, and the rich go laughing all the way to the bank.
They'd rather us fight a race war than to ever fight a class war. They're much more that serves the ruling class interest still. They're fine with a bunch of poor black and white people shooting each other in the streets, and they're fine with all of what's going on right now. And this status quo is what even a Joe Biden is okay with maintaining. And so it's just, that's the best offer that they have right now for the presidency is either, they tell you it's either the danger of Donald Trump or you get the status quo that led to Donald Trump. So, pick your poison there.
It's just like Kendrick said, right? Ain't nothing new but a flow of New Democrats and Republicans, red state versus a blue state, which one you govern in.
Thanks for watching Radical Democracy Podcast. I'm your host, Kamali Rose. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and if it doesn't bother you, hit that bell below to receive notifications whenever we go live or launch a new video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you can afford it, do me a huge favor and head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/radicaldemocracy and throw me a few bucks. Whatever you can afford, it goes a long way and I will greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel to continue to exist and to grow. And I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. All right. Peace. All right, that was a good one. That one's it.